Hey there, friend. So you're probably frustrated, right? You're feeling like you're working hard at work, you're doing everything that's required, but somehow you're just not getting the promotion. Somehow you're just being overlooked. Somehow your boss just keeps demanding more and more of you, even though you're already giving what you think is your best or everything that you think you have. And what keeps happening is that you get overworked, you get frustrated, you get confused, you eventually end up with a burnout because you're just giving, and somehow you're just not getting what you think you ought to get from what you're giving out there. So this video is for you. I'm gonna just teach you, no, not teach, share with you 3 things that you can do to get yourself out of that situation, out of that rut of people pleasing, of focusing, of what your boss is telling you must do, and you just working hard and just running in a rat race trying to impress your boss. So when I say 3 things that you can do, number 1, all of this stems from you having no anchor in terms of what your identity is, who you are. You need to create an anchor in identity, because if you don't have an anchor in your identity, you don't know who you are, you end up going around trying to find who you are from other people who also don't know who their identity is, and therefore, especially in the workplace environment, they're just gonna overload you with work, and because you don't know who you are, you end up people pleasing, which leads to burnout. So you need to anchor your identity. Who are you? Who are you? What's your mission? What's your purpose for being here? What are you trying to achieve? If no one is watching, what is it that you do? Who are you? And I know that's a big question. It requires a lot of time to reflect and just think that if nobody is watching me, who am I? Because once you know that, once you're anchored in who you are, in your identity, then a lot of the problems that you are coming across, they kind of just easily fall away. So I'm going to give you my identity statement. Who am I? I believe I am God in the flesh, the manifestation of God here in this earthly plane as Letiwe. So my name is Letiwe, but I'm manifested as Letiwe, and my purpose here is to my purpose is to display the beauties of God. It's to be who God has said I am to. And how do I do that? I do that through, and why am I here to manifest the beauties or the displays of God? It's because it is fun to do so, because it is exciting, because it brings me so much joy, and therefore I'm here to do that. And I do it through so many different avenues. That's who I am. So if you are able to solidify that, who you are, and then what's your mission statement, what's your, what do you call it, mission, purpose statement. My purpose statement is that I'm here to create, just like God is. I'm here to create. I create because it's beautiful to create, it's wonderful to create. I get knowledge, I get wisdom from people, from God, from wherever, and I apply it in my creative processes. And when I've learned something, I share. That's just my purpose. So if you've identified that, who are you? What's your mission statement? What's your purpose statement? What are your values? Because your values are tied to who you are. So when I say I am God in the flesh, my values are, I value love, the love of God, love of people, love of humanity. I've got 6 value statements. Let me see if I remember them from the top of my head. I value love. I value, I said love for God, love for self, love for people, love for environment, love for nature. I value care and respect. I care about people and I respect people. I care about myself. I respect myself. I care about the environment. I respect the environment. So care and respect. Integrity is one of my values, which is holiness. Integrity is holiness. I am what I say I do what I say, I am who I say I am. That's just integrity, it's holiness, it's the character of God. That's one of my values. What's the other value? I value personal development and Is that value number 5? But anyways, personal development and growth, those are my values. Active citizenry is one of my values. I think I left one, which is, I think, innovation. Yeah, I like innovative things. But anyways, but what are your values? What are the values? What are the things that speak to you, to your core? And if you don't, borrow values from your company. I know I borrowed some of those from my company. But have your own value statement, because that's gonna create so much clarity about who you are, your identity, and what you value. Because once you have that clarity, number 2, then I'm gonna say, then work towards serving that identity. Work towards serving that identity. That means when you know who you are, now we come to this point of developing boundaries. When people are stepping into your territory and they are not aligned with who you are, certain things should not come into your space now, because you've identified who you are. So when you're serving that identity, you don't serve your boss. When it comes to the workplace, you serve who you are now. I'm gonna make an example. So now, say I'm in the work environment, and because in that workplace environment, I know that I am God sent in that space to be creative in that environment, and and because it's joyful and it's fun to do so. Do you see now? Because I have that identity, I know who I am when I'm in that space. I now don't depend on my boss telling me what to do. I know that at work there's expectations and deadlines or not, but now when I'm in that space, my lens in terms of how I execute, I perform, are based on who I am, not based on what my boss tells me, because my boss doesn't determine who I am. You see? So now, when there are things which are within, which say my boss brings, which do not align with my values, I now know how to set boundaries. I have to have boundary conversation with my bosses, with whoever, maybe it's colleagues sometimes who just want to overstep and give you work, which is not. When you are anchored in your values, now you can have proper boundary conversation with those people, when they're derailing you from where you're trying to be. And what's important now, when you understand who you are and who you're serving, because your identity determines who you serve, you no longer serve to please people, to please your boss, to please your colleagues, to please whoever. You serve to please your higher self, your identity. I serve to please God wherever I go. So at the end of the day, our answer is, God pleased with who I am, and am I working in alignment with my values, everything that I do. And what you do find is that when you work to serve that purpose now, when you work to serve the identity of who you are now, you find certain things fall off, things which are irrelevant. You don't entertain them. Gossip in the workplace, you don't have to entertain that. Politics in the works, which are toxic, you don't have to entertain that space, because that does not align with who you are. You see, that is how you're able to move out of that burnout situation, move out of that people-pleasing environment. And what you find there is that because now you're working to serve that particular identity, and it's not determined by outside people, you learn to self-validate, let me call it that, self-approve, self-empower, let me call it that. Because perhaps all along in your life, you've been relying on other people to empower you, to tell you that you're doing great, you're doing well, and to clap hands for you. But when you get to the stage of growth in life, that's when you realize that you need to start doing that for yourself now. And then that's going to bring me to the third point. The third point is reflection is important. So remember, I said number 1, your identity. Number 2, serve that identity. And then I'll say number 3, self-reflection now is going to be important, because as you serving this new identity of who you are, you need to learn to validate yourself, learn to appraise yourself, learn to reflect on the steps that you are taking. Are they aligning or are they not aligning? Learn to and hence learn to self-direct, planning for the week that's to come, reflecting on the week that has gone by, planning for the day that is happening, reflecting on the day that has happened. Because as you do that, then you're able to approve of yourself or disapprove. By disapproving meaning, if you are doing something that's not aligning with who you are, and you are reflecting, then you can be like, there, I need to work and redirect a bit on that. That way, you'll be serving the self, the new identity. You will no longer be serving people whom you're trying to please. And when you are serving the new identity, what you're going to find is, in the workplace environment, if you're really tuning in into doing this, you're going to perform so excellently, because you are anchored in who you are, in your identity, that others are going to be looking at you and be like, how are you doing that? But even if they still, I'm just saying, even if they still say your boss still sees you doing that, they still, because people are insecure in their own, you might be having the type of boss who's just an issue even whilst you are performing. But what that's going to help you realize is that your identity now is not anchored on what your boss says. And then if you've developed and you work on yourself to such an extent, you can then move yourself by growth out of that space into a new environment. That's why there's you can take yourself to, you can apply to other positions, you can do so many things. But when you have built that anchor in who you are, in your identity, you can shift from one environment to the other. You can grow. You do not have to be burnt out. You can have boundaries, boundary conversations. You don't have to be people pleasing, because you know who you are. And you don't need other people to validate you. You can validate yourself. And that, ladies and gentlemen, that's me giving you my advice in terms of how then do you move yourself out of the situation where you're frustrated, where you feel like you are just running on empty and your career is stagnating. How do you get yourself out of that? And if you do those 3 things that I've just told you, I truly believe you'll start seeing some results in your life. It's not an overnight thing, I understand, but you can definitely start doing something today. Ask yourself, who am I? Start reflecting on your actions. You can develop your value statement today and mission statement. Thanks for watching, and you can leave me a comment on the comment section. Tell me, how is it going in your career? And if you find this information that I've shared to be of value to you or to your friends, share this to your friends. Thanks for watching for today, and bye for now.